This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Biotropic Labs. Biotropic Labs is a company that makes its own natural and healthy custom formulated sports supplements. I tried them out. Paul has also tried them. We both like how we feel on them. It dramatically and positively improved our performance, allowing us to train and work out at a much higher level and with much more endurance. His products are built around a blood support and oxygen delivery. To learn more about their products, please visit them on the web at biotropiclabs.com. At checkout, use the promo code UNION10 to receive 10% off your order. Your order is also backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, zero-risk purchase. Again, that's biotropiclabs.com. Use the promo code UNION10 at checkout to receive 10% off your entire order.
This episode of the Grappler Union podcast is brought to you by BJJ Tees. Go to bjjtees.com, enter the promo code Grappler Union, and save 10% off all your jiu-jitsu apparel. Go to bjjtees.com today.
This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Strychnine Jiu-Jitsu, makers of vintage-inspired tees, hoodies, and rash guards. Go to strychnine.co, that's STRYCH9.co, and use the promo code UNION at checkout to receive 20% off your online order.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Grappler Union Podcast. Paul Maloney alongside Anthony Zito. On this episode, we have Tony Cecchine in studio. Tony's an American catch wrestling expert. Also in studio is one of Tony's students, Javier Palomo, who's also a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Enjoy.
I hate the 6 minutes. That's what happens in that 6 minutes.
You told me using any technique that works, never to limit myself to one style. Keep an open mind.
When I hit you to take part, we're here to take over.
In order to become more peaceful, in order for you to become better and strategize your life.
All right, we're live. Awesome.
Tony
Somewhat
Cecchine.
live.
Finally.
Hey, that's me. Hey.
Hey.
I know that guy.
Hey.
And you said the name right, too. I'm
Yeah,
really proud of
that's
you,
it.
actually.
Yeah.
That's
No
a
coaching
shock.
from me whatsoever.
How do people normally say it?
Oh my God! Don't even ask.
I mean, for the longest time, I thought it sounded like it was supposed to be pronounced like catch, like for catch wrestling. You know, like I'd heard people say it as Cecchini.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, there must be a correlation there. Obviously not at all.
Cecchine or Cecchini or
Right.
And it can get worse. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Italian, right?
It's a great
100%,
It's a
yes.
great logo. I'm looking at Javier's shirt.
You like that?
That's a really
you
cool-
jealous?
I'm a little jealous. That's pretty cool.
You know, this logo
Yeah.
has an interesting story behind it.
Yeah, I got a tattoo of that, but that's what I wanted first was a tattoo of a tiger with a man's body because they called me Tony the Tiger as a kid because of the frosted flakes and whatnot. But the guy that drew that artwork, he is from Chicago. His name is Barry Crane, and he did the Spider-Man, the movies and comic books. Yes, he was I haven't talked to Barry in a long time, but I'm hoping he's still in Chicago.
Last I checked, but I mean, I follow him on Twitter, but I don't keep up with everything. And
Is he also a tattoo artist or just a...
He's never done it at that point. He never did a tattoo, so he was like honored in a way, but he was like really serious about doing it, perfectly. And then so then I took the artwork, and then I had a tattoo guy do it. They shrunk it, and it was great. But yeah, so
Where you have it on your arm?
yeah,
Nice.
I got on one of my arms. Yeah, so it was really nice, and I was very grateful that he did that. And then he gave me the actual artwork, and then through the years, this was a long time ago. So through the years, you move and things get misplaced, and I don't know where it's at anymore.
You don't know where it's at now?
No,
Oh, that's too bad.
It is too bad. But
they had this design at was it Jade Dragon or I don't remember which tattoo parlor it was. They had this design for a while there based off of your tattoo.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know if that's still out there somewhere.
yeah, because
Could
I had that done, that one done at Jade Dragon. I had, I think, 2 done there. Then I had one done out in the West Coast somewhere. And then I had one done out in McHenry County, which was just a cover-up, so it doesn't matter.
So I recently put a request in for a tattoo artist to consider taking me as a client.
Oh God, they don't even know what they're in for.
They don't know.
They
They don't know what
have
they're
no
in for.
idea what they're in for.
So
This is so this is awful news for all of us. Basically, he's going to be completely unsufferable if he if he doesn't get in with this person, isn't he?
Zito can't even figure out what kind of gi to wear for a competition, let alone what he's going to have tattooed onto his skin permanently for life.
Well, the first tattoo is always the worst, right? Like in terms of decision making and your degree of importance that you put into it.
It's tough. It's a tough decision.
Yeah.
You know, I've been literally years. I've been thinking about this. You know, and now I switched from one design to another design, and so finally I have a concept, and now it's just trying to marry that concept with the right artist.
Well, they can become addicting. Okay,
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
My advice to, and you're doing it the right way, but my advice to everybody who wants to get their first tattoo: make sure it means something.
Right.
You know, not a crazy tribal band or something that you'll regret 5 years from now.
Yeah, like that tramp stamp Paul's got.
No, it's got to mean something. You know, and I've made a mistake along the way, you know, now and then, you know, you give into a little bit of frenzy, and of course you get a woman's name tattooed, so that's the cover
Haven't
up.
gone there.
That's the cover up.
That's the
Okay.
cover up. That always has to happen. But yeah, so I'm done though. I think I'm done with tattoos. Yeah. Some guys, you'll get the sleeves or they'll get them on their forearms, and it can look good on the right person. But, you know, I'm older now. I'm done.
Well,
You know?
Randy Couture didn't get his first tattoo until he was like 50.
Oh, so there you go.
Yeah, and then he got like, he was like sleeved
Sleeved
out.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stallone.
Oh, he's the same way, huh?
He was older when he started getting tattoos. He's got it partially on his chest and arms and everything. So, hey, you know.
Trying to be youthful.
Maybe.
I mean, that may be a part of it. Yeah.
You think that's what it is?
Could be.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was something he always wanted to do. Like in his line of work, it can be an inconvenience.
Because you have to put all the makeup on it and stuff.
Yeah, you know, it's like, oh, this character doesn't have a tattoo. We got to cover you up every single time.
'Cause you remember Rocky IV when he was like shredded and glistening, and I mean, it's just, can you imagine him having to cover up a tattoo with all
that'd
that?
be tough.
That would be tough.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe it isn't even that tough anymore nowadays with like digital post.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess I'm speaking out of turn on that one, but it sounds like a pain in the ass in my mind.
Although, did you see that Wolverine? Like, they had something on YouTube where it showed Wolverine and then the actual scene that was taken like in CGI, and they
like how much was
actually put in.
Yeah,
It's
I've seen a lot of that kind of stuff.
Incredible. I mean,
extras
they're
and
basically
stuff.
just doing. They don't even use the actor anymore. It's really like you don't even need the guy anymore.
You don't.
Just recreate him digitally and just have him do everything he wants.
Yeah, we're getting to that
digital.
point, you know.
It's going to be the way. He'll just do the voiceover. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of, and I'm not into all of it. I mean, I can appreciate the talent that it takes to do that, but some of these movies are just so over the top with their scenes, you know, their fight scene or whatever it is, you know, the
I agree.
blow them up stuff, and I like the old school.
I agree. It's hard to get into it. When I see a guy get like thrown from a car through a window and he rolls out and he stands up and starts running.
Right.
There's no fucking way that's happening.
No.
There's
That
no
happened to
way.
me last week. What are you talking about? It's fine. It's fine. You
You're
got to
fine.
work on your chemi.
That's what it is.
Well,
But it's just so ridiculous. Like the fight scenes, everything like that.
Yeah.
After doing jiu-jitsu for as long as I've been doing it now, and then, you know, being involved, you know, looking at the UFC, and you see guys getting hit, you're like, it's really not going to be like
Right.
that at all. Like you're not going to one punch hit that guy, he's going to fall down.
Right.
It's not going to happen. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah,
But it's nice if it would.
It's nice if it would.
When I was a kid in Cleveland, I was raised in a bad neighborhood, and I saw violence. I was a victim of it. We all saw it. We knew how it was in real life. So the kung fu movies that they would play on Saturdays,
Kind of silly.
I couldn't watch it. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. This is not how it doesn't happen like this in the streets. You know?
So I'm gonna call him on his bullshit right now. He has personally taken me on a Billy Jack Odyssey in his living room. Okay, and that movie.
Billy Jack was cool, man. You know,
See?
he was pretty cool. You know, I like that guy. I didn't think his wife was so pretty, but I'm sorry to say that. But no, but the one girl with the cannons, man. Woo, hello. Pull the trigger. I love it when he told him to pull the
Yeah.
trigger. That was a good one.
Have you guys seen Billy Jack?
I have not.
Man,
Oh my
that-
God, you gotta see it.
We haven't lived life yet. It seems.
Yeah, no.
There was like 4 or 5 of them, right? Billy Jack, the trial of Billy Jack. I think Billy Jack goes to Washington. I think there was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, no.
Is this during like the Brunson years, the 70s? Or
Yeah, early 70s. I
Charles
would
Bronson,
say.
rather. Charles Bronson.
Yeah, but this guy was Tom Laughlin. He just passed away a few years ago. But yeah, you got to see at least the original Billy Jack. Okay, One Tin Soldier from Coven. That's a good song, and we won't say anymore. We don't want to spoil
Can
it.
you vouch for this movie? Is it good? Okay, now I'm definitely going to see it. Because anything Javi recommends to me is fucking garbage.
I hate you so much. Well, hold on. You generally don't like over the top superhero stuff, and that's like my main jam is sci-fi
things that
and fantasy.
I know that can never happen in real life. I just do nothing for me.
Okay, so you're okay with like spin kicks, knocking guys out, and stuff like that. Because that's like the main claim to fame of Billy Jack is like it was the introduction of like old school Hapkido when it was really a lot more kicking and I shouldn't say that. There's a lot of Hapkido schools that still are all about like spin kicks and stuff like that.
Right. Well, you're talking about Jackie Chan movies and Steven Seagal movies and stuff. That was at least something that two human beings actually did and choreographed. I mean, could it work in the street? Not so much, but at least I know
that it was physically possible.
I just watched them do it, you know, right. Even though it's choreographed. But as far as like flying or like turning into a green monster and your shirt ripping and then slamming your fist on a
You're losing
car.
a lot of listeners right now. I'm letting you know. And those movies are doing fantastic, and they're just like,
yeah, there's a lot of nerds out there apparently.
That's your listeners.
Well, don't be dissing Godzilla now, okay? Because he was pretty cool.
There you go. See,
and War of the Gargantuans, and that was all good shit, you know.
What about Planet of the Apes, Paul? Planet of the Apes. You a fan of Planet of the Apes?
Planet of the Apes actually decent.
Oh,
yeah, there's
okay.
a good plot line there.
All right.
Yeah,
he's okay with talking apes.
He's okay with talking apes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing here.
Okay. Because it could happen, right?
So we're really
genetically modified apes to start to get smart, and I mean apes already know how to use tools and shit, so it's not that far fetched.
Okay.
But
what about the Matrix?
they have their little societies and stuff.
The Matrix.
It's been so long since I've seen it, I can't even remember.
His tastes have changed since then. That was like 1999, bro.
It was 1999,
and you know he hasn't
exactly
rewatched
1999.
Yeah, he's like, I saw that once just to know what everyone was talking about. I don't remember a damn thing about it.
It was brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant.
Well, you got to watch The Hustler because you're a pool player. I'm a pool player, so
I appreciate The Hustler.
You
Yes,
damn right.
I've seen it. Yes.
Growing up, that was my favorite movie as a kid. Growing up, well,
Nice.
I kind of had a Paul Newman connection in a way, but yeah, I love that movie, and I couldn't wait to get good and be like Fast Steady Felson on the pool table and shit. That's all I wanted to do, man, was play, and I did. I used to tour. I was from Cleveland, like I said, so I'd go to Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, just that area, I was trying to make a little dime here and there.
Yeah.
It was good. I had some fun.
What's better, The Hustler or The Color of Money?
Man, see, I like The Hustler. I'm gonna tell you, I read the book, The Color of Money. Okay, and the book there was no Tom Cruise character in the book. Minnesota Fats was in the book.
Right.
I thought if they would have done the book into a movie, it would have been probably as good as The Hustler, close. I just didn't like Color of Money. I just thought it was a vehicle. Personally, I think it was a vehicle to get Tom Cruise popular.
I could see that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, for me, I like The Hustler. It's just black and white. It's old school, and he was shooting good pool.
Modern day pool hall junkies, I
Pool
think
hall
it is.
junkies.
Yeah, that's a
Pool hall
pretty
junkies.
solid one.
Yeah.
I don't have the skill and appreciation of pool, but I thought that was a cool movie.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing pool since I could barely see over the pool table. We had
I still can barely see over the pool table.
We had a 9-foot pool table growing up in our basement, and my grandfather would teach me, and it was a lot of fun. And I fell in love with it. I used to, belong to at I think I was 17 years old, and then back when I was 17, the bars scene was a little different back then than it is now. So in Cicero, we'd have a bar on basically every corner. Mm-hmm. So Cicero, Berwyn, Stickney area. And I joined a bar pool league at that age.
Oh, wow.
So I was like 17, 18 years old. And all my friends were like, because I was pretty good at that age. And because what am I doing? I'm just shooting around, right? Mm-hmm. So I would go in and, beat all these older guys. And they probably looked at me like I was, who the hell is this little kid? He's smoking us. It was so weird. But it was a lot of fun going around all the bars in the area. And just the only reason why I got in, probably because he's on the pool league. He must be of age. No one ever checked my ID or anything like that. And back then, what we used to use for IDs, a little trick. So
Wait. Are we about to corrupt the youth here? Or does
Probably
this no
not,
longer
because this is
work?
no longer would
I don't
work.
think this would work anymore.
With holograms and
Right.
Okay.
So back in the day, when you used to get pulled over, and the cop would take your license, and then he'd write you a ticket, like a carbon copy. You get the yellow copy. Well, the ingenuity of us when we were younger, we're like, well, what could we do with this ticket? So if you knew, you can actually use hairspray. You put hairspray over the ticket. You can actually wipe it clean. And then, so you'd wipe it clean, get carbon paper, and then you'd get a light box. and then we'd actually write our own tickets. So we put whatever birthday we want. And then on top of
Right.
that, we were like, well, we need a photo ID to go along with that ticket.
Yeah.
So back in the day, you used to go to the gun store and you'd want a FOID card. Well, they would just hand you a stack of like applicants, like, here, just take a stack. Here you go. You want a FOID card? Here, fill it out and send it in. So we'd actually take those, we cut them out, the FOID card, because it actually give you what it looks like. And you just put your picture on it. And then we go get those laminated. So we put our birthday to match with our laminated FOID card. So there you go. You got a FOID card, and then you got the ticket, and you're in.
Zito, how many of your stories in this podcast do we have to check afterwards with the lawyers? Be like, did the statute of limitations run out here?
I don't know. Yeah, that's
Yes,
what we
it
do.
did. I could vouch for that.
Yeah, that's what we
I
used
don't even
to
know
do.
the law, but I could say yes, it
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what we used to do, man, when we were younger, just to
play some pool?
play some pool, or go get some beer or whatever
Chase some
it was.
tails,
Chase-
drink some
whatever.
beer, yeah.
They didn't have pool leagues in my day, right?
Okay.
But I was lucky enough to be able to legally drink at 18. Okay.
Okay.
So I graduated high school. I was technically 17, but 2 days later, I turned 18. Okay. So I could do that. Then when I was about to turn 19, they changed the law to make it 19 to drink. Okay. And then when I was just about to turn 21, they changed the law to 21. So I've been legal to drink since I was 18.
fantastic.
So a lot of these guys, like when I moved to Chicago and I was, trying to shoot pool, and they're like, well, how come you didn't, you talk about all these bars. How come you didn't, you should have been hanging out in pool halls. I said, man, I didn't want to hang out in pool halls. Why, they would say, there's a lot of action in pool halls. I said, there's a lot of girls in bars.
Right, exactly.
Hey, I'm 18. I moved here when I was 23. So for 5 years, man, I'm on the road in the bars shooting and looking for girls.
Hell yeah.
You're not finding chicks at the pool hall. Okay.
Never. Yeah. So that's very true. Very
yeah.
true.
So, and it was fun,
Yeah.
That's funny you should mention that as far as the ages changing to drinking. I'm thinking of the upcoming youth where it's the age is changing for driver's license. I think
Right.
it's like anyone born before whatever it is, 2000 can get a driver's license at the age of 16, and then anyone after is going to be 18. So it's like you could be in the same year as your buddy, sophomore year, and he could get his license, and then you got to wait 2 more years.
Oh,
You know what I
really?
mean? Talk about traumatic.
Yeah.
Like you could have a bunch of buddies that get their.
I think you're overestimating things. I've got 2 teenage boys that didn't even care to get their driver's license.
I heard that that's a thing
It's
right
totally
now.
common.
Why?
right
Because
now.
of Uber and all this, how easy it is to
I
get
don't
around?
actually know that that's it.
I wonder what that is.
I think a part of it, just the current generation is a little bit more homebody-ish. They've got a lot of friends that are, online friends and things like that.
Video
games. If you don't have a job or some kind of commitment that actually takes you far afield, you can pretty much get around bumming rides off friends, making your family do it. If you're really desperate and got to get somewhere, catch an Uber, which is way too easy.
But are chicks not into dudes with cars anymore?
I think they
know what
are.
I mean?
I think they are.
It's the only reason I wanted my license.
Exactly.
But you couldn't afford a good car that a chick was really into.
No, it was a
at
piece of
that age.
shit, but at least you could take her out on a date.
Right.
Yeah,
You know?
we used to drive around. I remember we used to drive down Archer. Archer Avenue was a huge thing back when I was younger. We we do. I don't know why, but we okay, let's drive down Archer, pick up the chicks. And then we used to just do that when we were kids, just driving down and pick up girls.
Yeah.
They used to get in the car.
Right.
I wish somebody would have
Why?
told me
I don't
this.
know.
That Archer.
It's so bizarre back then.
Right.
Just come on, let's cruise Archer. Let's go pick up some chicks.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that.
Like
That was
watching
a thing.
like watching Dazed and Confused. You want to just God, I wish I grew up in the 70s.
I know.
You know?
Different era, man.
At the time, Cleveland had Randall Park Mall, okay, which was, at the time it was built, it was the largest mall in the world, okay? It's actually gone now. I think they tore it down or it's vacant or something. Cleveland, it didn't turn out too well for the city, but so we would go, my buddies from high school, we'd cruise the mall. I mean, that's where all the girls were,
right.
At Randall Park Mall, which was sometimes hard for me because it was far from where I lived. I lived on the north side the east side of Cleveland, but it was north near the lake. And this was more on the south side of Cleveland. So it was kind of a haul, but one of my
What's the
buddies-
rough part of Cleveland?
my side, east side of
East side,
Cleveland.
yeah.
Yeah, it was really bad. But 60 years ago or something, whatever, it was all real nice. And like you mentioned that there was a bar in every corner.
Yeah.
There used to be. There was a bar diagonal across the street from my house, even when I lived there. And one on the next street, one on the next street. Now they're all gone, of course.
Right.
But yeah, we used to go to the mall. That was where we would go. And then The west side of Cleveland, the west side of Cleveland is like the north side of Chicago. Okay. Kind of more like,
affluent.
Affluent, yuppie years. So we had the Hopkins Airport. So if you lived on the west side, you would park the car to watch the airplanes land, if you get my drift, okay? Yeah. But only from the back seat, okay? That's the only view. I learned that one real quick. So, oh yeah, honey, this front seat, I can't see shit. Let's go in the back seat. So, but again, I only went to the airport a couple times because, I was an East Sider, and the only time I would go on the West Side, really, I did have an aunt that lived there, but the one pool hall that I'd like to go to was called Buckeye Billiards, okay? And these are where the studs hung out, okay? The one guy that was there, his name was Tom Parker. He ran over 300 balls in straight pool. The guy, really good. I took one lesson off of him. And then they had a guy there named Mark Mario, who was the state 9-ball champ, and he was beyond a shortstop level. He would be there when all the road hustlers would come in, and he just saliva tape, and he was ready to take their cash. Very good players, man. So they had some really good guys. And you were raised on a 9-foot table. Well, I was raised on bar tables, a little bit smaller, 7 and 8 footers at that time, because I was going to bars when I was a kid, and with my stepdad and whatever. So it took me a bit to get adjusted to the 9-foot tables, and when you walked into Buckeye Billiards, you're going to have to play somebody for money. So this became a very costly lesson, Yeah, I bet. Yeah, but I could get them on the 7-footers or the 8-foot bar tables because some of the bars had 8-footers. But yeah, west side of Cleveland where the girls were with the cash, and then some of the far east suburbs, like Shaker Heights. We were talking about Paul Newman. He was originally from Shaker Heights. That had a lot of cash, and then Gates Mills, and they saw me coming and the way I talked and everything. They're like, no, this guy's from the wrong side of the tracks. Get out.
Now, is that like another dying culture, like the pool hustler? Or was I never in that world?
You probably just weren't in that world.
So it's still going on then?
It's still going on.
We had a pool hall right next to the Judo Academy in Downers Grove. It's given certain nights, it's crazy active in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, park several buildings down because it's got a tournament or something going on. Mm-hmm. So I assume it's actually pretty active and lively.
Right.
Now, real quick, you didn't come to Chicago for pool though, right?
No, and let me just say, I wasn't a hustler. I walked in and I would let everybody. I'd say, hey, I'm the best in the house. Right. I'm here to beat you. Right. I would never lay down or try to cheat. Hustlers, some guys like to do that, to pretend they're drunk or they'll play under speed. No, I came to Chicago really because the area I was living in was so violent. I wanted to get out. Cleveland is a lot like Chicago with the ethnic thing, only Chicago was much, much bigger.
Right. And
I didn't know anybody except for one person, and I didn't know him well. I only met him a couple times. He was a sensational musician, and I used to play drums, jazz, drums, and accordion, believe it or not, jazz accordion. And this guy lived at the time in Elmhurst. You guys know where that's at. He was originally from Cleveland, but he had moved out here in like 60 or 61. And I would see him a couple times when he would go back to Cleveland because him and my accordion teacher were best friends. So I figured, well, I'll come to Chicago. I'll see if I can make it. I'll start studying with, his name is Jerry Sigler. I said, I'll start studying with Jerry Sigler. And he wasn't interested at that point. He just didn't want to study or teach me. So it took me a couple of years, I think, before I finally convinced him, hey, come on, I got to learn how to play like you, and it didn't happen. I never got as good as him. Nobody did. But yeah, so that's really, I just wanted to get out, and I wanted to get to a nicer area. Mm-hmm. And then bring my grandmother out here, my mom and my grandmother. That's the only family I had. And, my grandmother was old. She was stubborn. She just wasn't going to leave that house. My grandfather died in that house. She was going to die in that house. So it just never worked out for her to come out here. So even though I moved here in 87, she didn't pass away until 92. So I was always going back to Cleveland. I was still there 20 times a year, So I really didn't take real roots until, like 92, really, right. When she died. So right after Christmas. But Chicago's cool, It is.
So when did your wrestling career or your catch wrestling career start?
when I was 13. So that would be
1977.
77, yeah.
Back in Cleveland.
Back in Cleveland, yeah. And it was really interesting because I belong to even though we're Italians, I belong to a Catholic Polish church. Okay, it was Polish, and I was an altar boy for 16 years, really. I think so, like from when I was 7 or 8 till I moved out here.
This explains so much, this altar boy revelation.
Boy, they picked the wrong guy. So anyway, but long before that, I always knew about this guy named Stanley Radvan. Okay, he was a Polish strongman. That's all he knew. Everybody always talked about how strong Radvan was. He could bend coins with his fingers. He would pull trains and cars with his teeth. He would just freaky stuff. Okay, and he knew my family since before I was born. So, okay, since I was an altar boy, one week I would have to serve 8:30 mass. The next week 10:30, and then the next week 12 o'clock mass. Well, 10:30 mass was what they called high mass. That was the big one, and they did that mass in Polish. So he would always come to 10:30 mass. Okay, so every, let's say 3 weeks, I would see him in the pews. Scary looking dude, okay? I didn't know what it was at the time. It was a cauliflower ear that he had. I didn't know what it was, and he limped, and I was scared of this dude, right? I had no idea about him being a wrestler. I didn't know anything like that. So, yeah, it was because of him. It was our summer picnic at the church. And we had like a bandstand, and they had a band playing, and I was selling the pop and the potato chips right next to the bandstand. And the drummer would let me sit in on a couple of tunes, because I was loving my music. So our mayor at the time, Dennis Kucinich, came in, and Radvan was his bodyguard. And I see them walking up, and I had already boxed. I was boxing, and I had done some karate stuff, So he comes up, I shake the mayor's hand, I shake Radvan's hand. Now, I had seen him a million times. This is my first time shaking his hand. I went to the ground. I mean, his grip was, it sent like electric shocks. To this day, I've never felt a grip like that. So long story short, I heard that you are into fighting. I said, well, yes, sir. I like to box, and I like to do some martial arts. You should learn how to wrestle, okay? And I'm like, well, that's okay. I don't want to wrestle. I'm a fighter, okay? That's exactly what I told her. So, dummy me, there was rooms off to the side of the gymnasium, and he says, why don't you come into this room? I want to show you something. I ain't going anywhere with this guy. Okay? Right. So now my buddy is, peer pressure. Come on, you got to go in there, man. Show him what you know. Show him what you know. Well, okay, so I walk into the room. Radvan looks at me and he says, one word, or 2 words. He goes, kick me. Well, I don't want to kick this guy. Kick me. I say, kick me. Well, I throw a roundhouse kick. The dude blocks it, and he puts me in what's called a stopper toe hold. It's basically a figure 4 toe hold. I am screaming as I hit the ground, okay? I jump back up after that. I'm like, oh, my God. You got to teach me this stuff. He goes, you don't want to learn how to wrestle. You're a fighter. You don't want to learn this shit. Right? So I pleaded with him. I said, no, please. And that's how I started with him. He started giving me self-defense lessons, teaching me how to defend because of that neighborhood and whatever. Yeah, so that's how I got to meet the guy, or hook up,
Was it just private lessons, or did he have a student body?
No, but I guess I didn't know all of this at the time. Like I said, I was 13, and I was with him until I was about 18. Back then, you don't ask questions. Kids are seen and not heard, right?
Right.
But apparently, before my time, I guess he taught some FBI guys and police, holds and whatever it was that he taught them. I wouldn't know, but yeah, he was very well known in that community, in the Polish community in Cleveland.
Yeah. So what was his combat background or his wrestling lineage?
Well, first and foremost, I don't know where he got his nastiness, but he was in the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in World War II. So I don't care who you are, it's going to change you.
Yeah.
But he did learn in Europe. But then when he came to Cleveland, in about 1948 or so, 49, I don't remember exactly. It was right after World War II. He hooked up with Henry Gehring, I believe his name was, in Cleveland. He was a wrestling promoter, but Gehring went all the way back to Frank Gotch, okay, at the turn of the century, 1903 or 05. As a matter of fact, Gehring was in one of his books, and I think Gehring was like the world's either welterweight or middleweight wrestling champion, okay? So this is where he was learning all the hooks, all these, dynamic submission holds and what have you, because most wrestlers didn't know how to do that or didn't want to learn how to do it and didn't need to know how to do that. But every so often, you'd have a guy who would become, quote unquote, a policeman. He'd be the bodyguard to keep everybody in line. Mm-hmm. Well, with Rodvan's previous abilities and his unbelievable strength, yeah, he just took to this like, a duck to water. But the one thing is, he and I told my students this all the time, like Javier and others, the worst beatings you'll ever take will be in the gym, because he wanted to prepare me for what was out in that real world. So I wouldn't be afraid, so
I can totally see that.
Yeah,
that makes sense, because normally on the street you're not gonna fight a tougher guy that's in your gym.
Yeah,
like what is it, like 80, maybe even more than 80% of the people in the world don't know what they're doing when it comes to fighting.
Yeah, no, it's probably way worse numbers than that. Really,
right,
way worse.
I'm probably being generous, right? Saying
yeah,
80%.
80% of them probably think they know,
right?
And in reality, like 95% of them have no clue.
And that's why when you're in the gym and that's a very true statement.
Well,
you're not going to get anyone tougher than who you're fighting with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and you're getting pounded, you're getting conditioned, and I got to share this with you, because this was a very astounding thing to say. I used to know Leon Spinks, former heavyweight champ of the world. We used to actually live in the same place. He was from like East St. Louis or somewhere down southern Illinois or Missouri border. And I asked him, and it was so true, because this is how it was with me. I said, how good of a street fighter were you? He goes, it's hard to tell. I never was in a fair fight. And that's exactly how it was with me. The guys, it's 3-on-1, or they got pipes or knives or guns.
Right.
I've been through all of that. So that's why when Rodvan would coach me, or even after him, I would always make sure that I would push myself so far, so hard, because it's going to be, deadly in the street. Right. I mean, potentially. But yeah, I saw a lot of violence, and I didn't see many fair fights. No, you just don't. Maybe it's different now. I don't know.
No, it's definitely not improved.
The only thing that's different now is that they film everything. That's
right.
So
Well, yelling world star.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Video proof of everything happening. Yeah. So, but it's called catch wrestling.
Yeah, catch as catch can.
Right.
Okay.
So that definition, what can you define that?
Sure.
For us?
Well, and there's some. I guess the term itself maybe came from England. Okay, but it's not an English style of wrestling. At least not what I do. I mean, wrestling is the second oldest sport in the world, more than likely. Okay, I would assume track and field would be, running would predate wrestling, but catch as catch can was catch any hold you can, meaning, in essence, no holds barred. Okay, anything would go. Then later on, of course, they introduced, you can't choke, or you can't rip a guy's eyeball out, or you can't do this or that. But that's exactly where catch as catch can means, or what it means. Catch any holds you can. I know, of course, we just call it catch for short. Okay, but I don't think there's been any style of fighting that's been more misunderstood, misrepresented to all these people now that claim they're catch wrestlers. I'm not involved in any of that. I stay out of it.
I was rolling with someone, and this was in Nogi, and they had my back, and they were higher ranking, so they had my back, and they're trying to choke me out, and I was defending pretty well. Mm-hmm. And then what they did was they sat me up, as to he sat me up straight, mm-hmm. and then he was on. I thought he was going to come around to the front or go for a mount, and then what he did was he compressed his sternum, like his chest, on my top of my head, and then just neck cranked me, and I'm like, oh, and I had to tap. He's like, sorry, I had to do that. I go, what was it? He goes, oh, that's a catch wrestling move. I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah,
that hurt like
normally every time I have to ask what was that, it's a catch wrestling move. Yeah, like Javier has caught me with like some sadistic shit,
Right.
Where it's like, I'll be like, dude, how do you even come up with it? Like, you need to be locked away for even whoever came up with that.
He's like, he's
No,
a
you
great
put me in
student.
prison, I'll just beautiful minded in the walls and everything, you know.
Well, but the thing is, you know, a lot of guys now. We have another guy that works out with us, Joe Cardinal, great guy, been very helpful for me, and you know, he says now a lot of these catch guys are doing just pin tournaments, okay, which I'm totally, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but I'm not into that, okay, you know, you got to submit this guy, okay, this is what it is, you know.
Well, I mean, let me chime in on that. Most of the ones that I've seen where guys are like running modern tournaments, to differentiate themselves, I think more so than anything, they're definitely including submission and pinfall as an option. So yeah, like that's a thing, but it's not like they've taken the submissions out of it. Yeah, it's still
right.
Yeah.
So Tony, your gripe is people are claiming to be catch wrestlers, and in your eyes, they're not really authentic.
Well,
catch wrestlers.
some are probably, but just a different style of catch than what I do.
Okay.
But others just aren't. Okay, they're not. So about 10 years ago, this will prove my point. I was at a place, and so I'm in there, and everybody knows me, and they're like, "Yeah, Tony the wrestler." And there was some kid in there, you know, and he's like, "Oh, what do you do?" I said, "Oh, I do catch wrestling." That's all he said. I didn't really want to talk to the guy. That's what I do. I do that. I've been studying for a long time. I go, "Oh yeah, who do you study with?" He smiles and he goes, "I study with Tony Cecchine." I said, "Oh, you do now, huh?" I said, "I heard about that guy, you know." "Oh, yeah, he's a badass, man. He's something else." I said, "Get out of my face." He's like, "What do you mean?" I pulled out my driver's license. I said, "You don't even know who you're talking to. You're a bullshitter, right? Don't bullshit." "Well, what I meant was, you know, I bought all your videos." "No, that's not what you meant. You know, you were trying to lie."
Right.
So, but that does happen, you know, and Javier's probably heard of that too. You know, I've gotten emails from people, "Oh, this guy trained with you and he lived with you." No, it never happened.
Right. I mean, I've been a part of this where guys will come to a seminar and they don't have anyone else that they're training with, or they've been kicked out of a gym, or whatever the case may be. And it's like suddenly they've done a seminar and they're a catch wrestler now. Or you know, they bought some of Tony's videos or somebody else's videos or whatnot, and they're like, "I identify with this." You know,
Right.
Yeah, that's not fair to anybody else because
Right.
it takes a long time in anything. Jiu-jitsu, judo, you know, karate, you can't just buy a video. Or we know somebody who was giving weekend seminars and giving you a certification, and then like within a year you could become totally certified.
but
It's just
certified in what at that point?
Right.
Like,
It's nonsense.
See,
you know.
Now, here's my thing. Like, because there are tournaments where you're competing in a catch wrestling tournament, I feel like even if you don't have like a catch background, if you like win that tournament, you're kind of a catch wrestler. You know, like you've competed under a catch wrestling rule set at least. But at no point in time would I want to claim that like that's my lineage. Like I just competed in combat wrestling. I'm not like a combat wrestler per se. It's not like that's my martial art. That's a tournament rule set I competed under.
Right.
You know, so like I draw kind of a line there, but most guys when they say, "Oh, I'm a catch wrestler," they're not talking about winning tournaments. They're talking about like, "Oh, I wrestled in high school and I know how to do a choke."
Right.
Oh,
Exactly.
really? It goes that far?
It does.
Oh God, it does.
And that's another thing I have with this pinfall. Excuse me. There's some tremendous high school level wrestlers and of course collegiate level wrestlers that could, you know, you could literally show them how to defend against the most common submission holds that you're going to run into on your pathway to pinning, and they can just mop the floor with these tournaments.
Right,
okay.
yeah.
When I was working with Shoney Carter when he was going to fight Matt Serra, I didn't have a lot of time. I just taught him how to defend these submissions. Okay, you're going to block all these submissions. You're going to get out of the submissions, and you're going to get back on your feet and use your skills that you've honed for 20 years or however long he was training. So that can happen when you have some of these submission pinfall tournaments. Yeah, just defend and then pin, and especially if you're and this is not an insult, but if you're a jiu-jitsu or judo guy, you're used to going to your back. You almost feel comfortable there many times. This is no big deal. And you might forget. You might just slip up and just automatically do it. So you hurt yourself. You pinned yourself in essence.
And so I haven't seen that in a catch wrestling tournament because haven't actually watched any of them live or anything, but I've absolutely seen that in other formats where pinning is a thing, where guys go in, have a heavy, usually jiu-jitsu background, and it's like the coach is yelling at you from the sidelines, like, get off your back, and like programmed instinct, not going to do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, some guys adapt really, really well, can turn that switch on and off.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, 100%. I've seen that in Sambo, I've seen it in Judo, and I've seen it in combat wrestling.
And those are all good styles, Sambo, jiu-jitsu. But, it, in my opinion only, it boils down to the man, to the fighter, to the man or woman, okay? Because there's some pretty shitty BJJ guys and pretty shitty catch wrestlers and, pretty shitty everybody,
Right.
The style doesn't make you. I mean, you can make the style. If you listen, you have a good coach and you have an inquisitive mind, you can excel as long as you don't have any handicaps, injuries or something that's going to hold you back. But one thing, and this is not a cop-out, I've had guys, Javier was with me for many of these, that have fought in all sorts of tournaments, right? What's the one that... not the UFC thing. I forgot his name. You tapped him out at the gym about 10, 15 years ago.
Come on, that guy you tapped out 10, 15 years ago.
Right. That one, yeah. Well, anyhow.
Look him up in your book.
My point is, there are a lot of our techniques that I teach that nobody else does in catch that truly are illegal, even to this day in tournaments. Now, I'm not talking even ripping, like sticking your finger in their eye, but it's just the way we apply to submissions with the extreme twists. And my thing is, I want to make you very unnatural, okay? If you're in a natural position like you are right now, you're relaxed, you're all cool, you're going to be strong, you're going to be fast, you're going to give me a problem. I don't want you like that. Right. I want you all discombobulated, so you're not only fighting me, you're fighting yourself. You're trying to get your body back to a regular base. And then, so by that time, hopefully I've taken you out. So that still happens now. So, and then I normally let students just decide what can you do and what can't you do, because I get guys, I used to get guys especially, and not so much now, but from all over the world to come train, and every place, every tournament has different kinds of rules. So I can't stay up on all of this. I don't know what the rules are. If you come from, let's say, Timbuktu, I don't know what your rules are. So here's what I do. Do you think this is legal? No, it's not. Then we can't do that either. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. Then it gets to the point of, what are you doing? Why are you doing? Well, you can't train with me now. I'm no longer teaching you what I know. I'm modifying it and watering it down. Right. Right. Now the biggest thing that I have a regret with Javier, and he's a phenomenal grappler, but we were talking about this or texting the other day. I wish I would have got him with the striking, okay? Because I like to strike. I love that. And we never covered that, because years ago when the UFC was getting popular, all these guys, that's all they wanted to do was learn all my submissions and learn all of this and that. And it kind of did, I'll say it now, it bothered me, because I wanted to do a lot more striking too, right. And we never had the chance, but.
You're talking about like closed fist strike or open palm strikes?
Elbows, headbutts, punches, kicks, knees.
So Tony attempted to teach me boxing. I was not anywhere near as good of a student when it came to boxing, and I didn't give it enough time either.
It takes time.
Yeah, it's definitely just like any other discipline. Like I can kind of cheat with grappling a lot of times because I have other skills from previous experiences that I can build upon. But like, boxing, kickboxing, anything like that, it's like, I got to build from the ground up here, like real, starting over, white belt level stuff here. So yeah, Tony did definitely attempt to teach me boxing, and I hope I didn't embarrass him too much.
Oh, no, you did. No, here's one thing I do want to say. I don't know who your listeners are, but I always say this, like when I'm doing a seminar, that there's a lot of people, especially back, you guys are young, but back in the 90s, there was BJJ schools that you started from your knees, okay?
That's still very common.
There was no stand-up. So one of the things I tell everybody is there are techniques and not necessarily techniques, but what's the word I'm looking for? Like fundamentals that are on your feet, okay? Movement, balance, timing. And if you don't master that on your feet, you can't take that to the ground. But if you master it on the feet, then you can take it to the ground. So the ground should be like an extension of being on the feet, okay? It's hard to explain. It's something you have to see. But it's all about copping angles and, getting momentum going and learning how to be balanced on the ground. And this becomes second nature to you when you're on the feet. So then you're thinking, okay, it's just a matter of slight modifications for being on my back or being on my hands and knees. And it bothers me because a lot of guys I've seen through the years, absolutely phenomenal, great fighters on the ground, but, their stand-up, they just didn't have it, and you're one punch away, from being put on Queer Street, man. If you can't.
So how when you trained, did you start? I mean, did you guys call it rolling back in the day? Like, is that what you did? Like when you like live sparred, is that what you would call it? When you used to teach class, and then at the end of the class you start standing, and then get into the ground, and then just
we called it hugging and warm embraces. That's what it was.
But I mean, was it like put the clock on at 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and then start standing, get some guy to the ground, and then submit him, and then. Yeah,
well, in a way, I could say that we didn't have a 5 minute clock.
Yeah, there was no timer. I want to very firmly establish that none of this fucking 6 minute round bullshit.
This fight had to end fast, and that was another thing. Oh, you're gonna like this. So I had to have a lot of pressure on me. Okay, it was like, get this fight over with fast. You don't have time in the street. It's got to end quickly, because if there may be somebody else getting involved, or maybe somebody calling the police. You don't know. So people would ask me, well, how did you deal with all these submissions? Okay. This is what he would do. Now you can't get away with this now. If I did this, you'd be interviewing me in prison. He would, let's say we were wrestling, and then he would get me in an armbar. It doesn't matter what it was. Okay. His thing was, you shouldn't be able to tap out. I mean, you're the one who screwed up. I earned this. I should be able to take this home. This is mine. I own this arm now. So naturally, he can't break my arm, because then that would be the end of training. Right. Okay, so if he got me in an arm bar, or whatever the hold was, I'd have to stand up. I'd close my eyes. I would not know where he was at. I'd stick my arms out at my side like this. And I knew he was behind me or in front of me. I could hear it, smell it, feel his breath. And I was going to get a hit, a punch, a kick, or slammed with something, and it scared the shit out of me, and it hurt. Okay, so what that did was it made a correlation in my mind. Don't let this guy ever get you in a submission hold, right? Because even though he may not break my arm naturally, I'm still going to have a lot of pain, and it's going to scare the living shit out of me. So I was able to make the correlation, and it proved to me that under no circumstance can I allow him to submit me, to get this hold on. And I think that was the biggest advantage that I have in my training, because nobody can train like that no more. You can't do that. I can't punch you in the head, or something.
Right. Not gonna have a lot of students left.
Right.
Might not have any.
It'd be a hell of a kids program, though.
It worked. It worked for me, man. It really did. But it probably had its drawbacks too. But
let's be real clear. At no point in time did Tony ever put a hook on me and take it home or punch me in the head afterwards.
No, okay. That's good. Even though his wife asked me to, I said no.
My ex-wife. He's such a softie.
Well, I used to be like really hardcore with these guys. Okay, yes. with the conditioning, and just. It was like a boot camp, okay? I'd get in your face, and, I'd scream and I'd yell, and I never would give them compliments unless they really were exemplary, because, first of all, I never had that. I wasn't raised like that.
Old school,
yeah. Nobody ever gave me, they never said anything nice about me. So now I'm not like that anymore. I'm kind of cool, because
mellowed with age.
Nobody responds to that. But, you fight the way you train. If your training is sissified and you're going at 20% all the time, it's how you're going to fight in real life. Like you guys were saying earlier about going to your back. It's a reflex. If that's how you train to go to your back, you're going to go to your back, or whatever. Right. So, I
mean, if that's your style, you're going to have good game from there.
Right? Oh, sure. And a lot of guys do, but that pinfall can change.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely does.
So, Tony, training with that Polish guy, how many years did you train under him?
Just about 5.
5 years. Yeah. And was it just you and him, or was there a couple other guys in there?
A lot of times it was me and him. Sometimes I would bring my friends. They didn't last long.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you something. When we're talking about this rolling and so on, so I had learned all these submissions, okay, and there was never any tapping out, okay. Like I said, I didn't even know what that meant, okay. he never taught me, okay, you just do this or anything, nothing. All right. So I was with him, like I said. I started in the summer. I don't exactly remember when, maybe August or something, whenever our picnic was. And then I finished up with him in 1982, like in June. So we were like a couple months shy of 5 years. But I mean, and not every time we would. Sometimes I'd go over his house and we wouldn't even train. We'd have to do something else. But anyhow, I was maybe 19 or 20, and I went to a judo school. Okay, just to watch. I didn't. I just sat on the sidelines and shit. So now they're doing their throws, and there's some ground fighting, if you want to call it that. Newaza, they're down there. And then I saw a guy do a move, and the other guy, he's tapping the mat, right? I don't say anything. And I see this like 2 or 3 times. So I talked to this guy. I don't know who he was. He was just sitting next to me. I'm like, what are they doing that for? Oh, you don't know that those are submission holds. So when you get into trouble, you tap out. Otherwise, you can get hurt. I just started laughing because, I mean, I just thought. Now, again, I don't want people to think now because it's routine to do this now.
Right,
it wasn't for me. So I found the whole thing like, again, ridiculous.
Right.
I mean. I was screaming, that was my tap out.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, I don't want to mention anybody's name here, but I had a good friend who I haven't seen in a long time. And here's the problem with tapping out sometimes, okay? This is just, I was watching what he was doing. He was tapping out when he didn't need to tap out, okay? Kind of like the fear. Yeah. So I don't remember if it was Martin who was rolling with him or something, but I just whispered in whoever it was his ear. I said, don't stop. Okay, because I'm mad at both of these guys because my student really wasn't getting the submission on. Okay, and he wouldn't stop. And guess what? All of a sudden, I'll say the guy's first name, Mike. All of a sudden, Mike's fighting out of all these things. Sure. Okay, and on and on and on. And he thanked me for that. Yeah. Because he's like, yeah, you were right. I was afraid. I felt it coming and I was scared. So sometimes the difference between that 3 or 4 seconds of tapping out could be 3 or 4 seconds of fighting out. Okay. Right. Not always. Right, you'll know the difference if you're astute.
It's definitely a thing that you have to know your body. Yeah. Your training partner has to be somebody you trust, that they're not going to like explode in that last second of things.
Very true.
But like you guys have probably all witnessed it with me, or at least maybe experienced it with me, where it's like I put something on you, it hurts like hell, and you tap, and I give you that look like, come on.
Really?
Yeah. What'd you tap for? It wasn't set yet. So like that's where that comes from. Is like I'm looking for, and obviously I don't know if you've got injuries or things like that, but in my mind I'm thinking that wasn't far enough yet, and you probably tapped that because it was weird feeling.
I know you used to always give me shit anytime you're using me as a demonstration for leg lock club, and Javier would be like 3/4 of the way explaining through the lock, and I'm sitting there like grimacing like this fucking hurts, man, like it hurts a lot, this is in, right. And Javier's like no there's more, and I'm like, okay, I get it, there's more is gonna break my leg.
Did I ever break your leg?
No, because I never let you. I tapped.
Honestly, I mean, Javi would use me a lot. And I appreciate it because he actually built up more of a tolerance for my legs.
Yeah.
I go deeper because when you have to train with him, and he's putting it on you all the time. When you put it on me, it's like, get the fuck out. You're not going to put it on as hard as Javi did.
That's for sure.
And I feel so much safer because he's not putting it on. When he puts it on me,
But you can totally attest to what I'm saying. Like,
I know what you're saying.
Even though he did develop your tolerance or whatever, there was still more for you, too.
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. You do develop, like when we do the ripping. Mm-hmm. I've had grown men. No, for real. They'll break down. They'll cry.
I mean, it's torturous.
It's torturous. And some guys, I don't do this right away, but after a little bit of time they're training, maybe 50% don't come back, because first of all, it's in a way it's emasculating, okay? Because literally they're crying from this pain of getting, ripped all over the place. But then the ones that do come back, man, they're tough. Yeah. But you've got to keep up with that, If you don't do it regularly, you'll lose it. You'll lose the conditioning. It's I saw the guitar out there, so I don't know which one of you is the guitarist.
Neither.
Blake Glassman is the guitarist.
Well, your fingertips get calloused,
right.
And if you don't keep up with that, then it's sore. My dad was a guitarist. So the thing is, But like when you box or even kickboxing or anything like that, getting punched, it hurts, okay? And there's nothing gentle about what we do. There isn't. This is, the antithesis of that. This is the complete opposite. This is designed, at least the way I was taught and the way I do it, is to just damage you. I mean, and it bothered me like years ago, or even now, like a lot of people won't let you use leg locks or what have you.
That is changing, actually.
Good.
Like only within the last couple of years, really. But we're starting to see that.
Well, good, because I understand the injuries, but man, shit, you can put a deadly chokehold on. You can strangle somebody out, but but I'm not allowed to, do a leg lock or a fish hook or
fish hook's still frowned upon. It's never frowned upon.
Man, you got to watch Batman. The Joker's cool, man. he's a fish hook.
Actually, let me interrupt you here a little bit. These guys might know just from hanging out with me and whatnot, but a lot of the listeners at home aren't gonna know. Like some of our vernacular is probably pretty weird
What
sounding.
is ripping?
That was probably the one. Yeah.
I'll let Javi explain it.
So, the best way I can explain it is it's without getting into like mysticism here, because that's not what it is at all. Okay, it's grinding typically elbows or other hard parts of your body into delicate sections of your opponent's body in order to create a reaction.
I'm going to start doing that to Zito.
You definitely should.
To get him to move.
No. Like I brought him here to show you this way so that Zito may hate you completely. Yeah, so that I never have to hear another damn podcast about fetal guard.
Right. It's so ridiculous. He's so over-exaggerates.
So
Omar is the one who said that.
Yeah,
that's right. He did say that.
That's your own bro there.
He likes to make fun of me.
Yeah, no. Zito has
And I can attest to it.
Zito has a very defensive style, and we're all trying to get him to open up, be a little bit more offensive.
In your defense, I think it's because of the ball busting. You have been a lot more active and offensive.
Yeah, I'm getting more. I'm getting stronger.
Yes,
stronger at
attacking.
At attacking.
Right, more offensive.
Definitely more offensive.
The ripping would be great in the UFC. They don't allow it, but many times it's much more effective than even striking, okay, like punching, let's say, or because you're putting constant pressure on a vulnerable target, maybe a lymph node or a sensitive area, the xiphoid process or the larynx or, the eyeball or, whatever. And there's plenty of spots along the body. But like he said, this is not mysticism. This is not a death touch. This is just causing you so much pain that you are going to give me something worth much more, okay? Right. Which is your arm, your leg, your neck. And there's the science behind it. But I like to get people going on the ripping right away, because and the submissions. And I say it's like baking an apple pie. You put the apples inside the pie, you bake it all together. You don't bake the pie and then later on just throw the apples on it. And that's the problem when you're training with this stuff. Let's say you never got ripped or you never did a leg lock or whatever the move may be. Now you've been doing it 2-3 years and all of a sudden you're with somebody.
Changes.
Yeah, the world changes. You're like, shit, did I just waste 3 years? Well, not really, but now you're going to alter yourself.
Like not so much anymore, I feel, because, the mood has changed in America especially. But not that many years ago, certainly when Paul first started, it was not uncommon for you to go to a jiu-jitsu school and the prevailing attitude was you don't need to know leg locks until brown belt.
Right.
Now, bear in mind, even back then, like a straight ankle lock is legal at like blue belt, white belt, blue belt level. So but all the other leg locks, not even going to learn them until you're several years into your career at some schools. Not all. Some guys more progressive, had a better attitude about it. But that's crazy to me. Like that's absolute madness to my way of thinking. Like you're going to be learning the stuff eventually. I should show it to you now so you get the repetitions in. You're aware of it early on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's so much focus. I believe. I think that I think I like having a specialized class for leg locks, just because there's in the gi anyway. There's so many fundamentals that I really need to constantly train, that fundamental base. And I feel that, a person I'm just strictly IBJJF style tournament where it's like gi, a guy who has a great base, it's going to be very, very difficult to get to his legs with a guy with that super, super good base. So I'd rather be really, really strong at a really good base and then have my separate leg lock club class as opposed to like, trying to incorporate way too much into like, what's already very difficult to learn.
Right. I mean, I'll grant you there's only so many hours in the day.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, here's what happened to me. The very first submission hold I was ever taught. Now, I told you, he showed me the stopper toe hold at the church gym, but he taught me the top wrist lock, which is a Americana, as the Brazilians jiu-jitsu schools would call it, okay? And, it just blew my mind, okay? I'm like, wow, this is figure four. This is awesome.
Great,
yeah, and I became, this kind of sounding braggadocious, but I became very adept at that. Even to this day, I think I could get it on anybody, right? Well, it was getting out of hand, okay? Meaning that's all I was going for. So I don't remember how far into my training, maybe my second year, I don't remember now. But he said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a year now. 3 months, you can do any kind of armbar, okay? The next 3 months, any kind of neck crank or choke. The next 3 months after that, any kind of leg lock. The last 4 months, last 3 months, put it all together. But while I would be wrestling, let's say I was wrestling you, right? And I'm in my armbar phase, okay? I got the 3 months of arm bars. But you throw out that leg. I see it. Well, I can't go for it, but I would shout it out. I would say Achilles lock or heel hook, even though I wouldn't go for it, but I was still seeing it in my mind's eye.
Right.
And so, and that I think really helped me. That for me made me much more well-rounded with the submissions. And then ultimately, like when I knew Javier, when he first started coming training with me, I was leg locking all the time. I was really good at the leg locks, and
His fault completely.
yeah. Well, we had a guy, this is funny. We had a guy come to train who had just gotten back from Japan. And this is a guy, I can't remember his name. I was trying to think of before. We don't need to bring it up now. But so he's like, okay, I want to learn your stuff. I don't need to know leg locks though, because I just came back from Japan. I got that down. Okay, that's no problem. Anything but that. Okay. So I fed him to this one guy I was training, Brian. 6 seconds into it, Brian leg locks him. And the guy goes, okay, maybe I do need to learn some leg locks.
I mean, I had a pretty similar experience my first time there, also with Brian. So shout outs to Brian.
Yeah, Brian, hey, babe. Yeah, it was. But the thing is, it's a whole different element. One of the things that you'll never hear when I had my gym, I would always say, you'll never hear me say, well, that's against the rules. Okay. That was never uttered in my gym. Okay. Because it was, what we do is open. It's more wide open as far as anything goes. And I kind of like that. But I know it's not for everybody, because I've seen some phenomenal sportsmen, the jiu-jitsu guys and judo guys, judokas that are just like, wow, I don't do what they do. I can't do that. They have a separate skill set, than I have. So I think for me, I would just say that maybe I was a little more versatile than some guys because I did all the strikes and all the different kinds of submission holds. But I'll tell you, there's some guys out there, man, they're real specialists. They're really good. I mean, look at some of these Olympic level wrestlers, what they do, freestyle wrestlers or Greco guys. I mean, you look at that stuff and you're like, damn.
Have you ever competed?
Not in that stuff. No, they didn't have anything like this when I was growing up. Nothing. There was no submission matches. I wrestled guys. I wrestled high school guys and I boxed and I did all that. But there were no submission matches. And I really wish there was. I really wish there was in my time. I had a serious injury in '93. I had a brain aneurysm, so I ended up getting paralyzed on my right side. It took me almost 2 years to learn to walk again, so that kind of derailed me. And you started training with me shortly thereafter, maybe. I mean, no, 98 or something,
99, I think.
Yeah. But I mean, I was.
But yeah, you were already getting around. But I mean, like it was weird for me because like your friends who I knew that knew you, like they would talk about it. I'm like, this guy, he's built like a fucking Adonis. He gets around just fine. He moves like a goddamn cat. I can't even imagine it. And they're like, yeah, no, I used to wheel him around at the bar, like. Yeah,
everywhere. I was in a chair and then a walker, the Canadian crutches. But anyhow, no, they didn't have anything like this. And that's sad. Now, they had pro wrestling, which I didn't want to do, and my coach even said, just, no chance, don't do that, It bothered me, but this thing, because I graduated in '82, so this was years before.
10 years before the UFC.
Yeah, it would have been nice, and there was no internet, so I didn't know even if something existed, let's say in Cuba or wherever, China, I wouldn't have known about it. Right. But I never thought about anything other than learning this to defend myself. That's it. That's all I cared about. And like I said, when I would shoot pool in the bars, that's one thing that was always cool because nobody could scare me. Nobody could intimidate me because they knew I could, take souvenirs with me. I think I'm going to take your earlobe today. How do you like that? I would never be afraid. Right. I think that helped. It helped my confidence tremendously. But I do want to say this. I met a few other people along the way that chimed in, and they had some training, much older people than me. They had some training, and they would give me little tips and, tricks. So if I felt it would have worked for me, I'm using it. And if it didn't work for me, I'm not going to use it, right? But even when you learn from somebody that doesn't have anything to bring to the table, I did learn something. I learned that your shit don't work. I learned that, right? So I'm not going to worry about it, right? And it sounds funny, but in a way, it's the truth. You can see, but somebody, we were talking before this thing about the spin kicks and stuff. I've seen some tremendous kickboxers or taekwondo guys, whatever. Yeah. I don't underestimate anybody. I told Javier this. I told all my students. Whenever I'm fighting in the street or something like that, I have an incident. I always assume that the person I'm fighting is the toughest man that ever lived. I never want to give myself the big ego thinking, I can blow right through this guy. That's when you have potentially problems, So I'm always expecting you, even now, you guys to be killers, That's how I approach things. So, I got to fight for my life. That's how I looked at it. Yeah. But Javier has been not only a great submission guy, catch wrestler, but he's just been a great guy. Mm-hmm. And that's really what's cool. I don't like to train meatballs, man. I don't like people who have a bad attitude or are trouble. And we've had that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've had guys come through.
Based on what Javi's told us, your catch wrestling school has been, it's almost like a very exclusive club. Like, it was never about getting to a certain amount of students or opening up your, it was more like, I want good people in here. I want tough dudes. I don't care if it's 3 guys or if it's 12 guys, but.
Yeah. Well, I actually got yelled at on the internet about, I don't post anything on any internet anymore, but this is like 15 years ago because I would never brag about when somebody I trained won a tournament. I would never even mention it, right? And there were people like dissing me for that. I'm like, hey, maybe I'm the coach, okay? I showed these guys that stuff, but they deserve the credit. They're the ones who are putting in all the hard work. I'm just there, all right? They're taking my knowledge, but, they are putting in all the effort, so they should get the accolades. But, yeah, I never had a big gym, as far as quantity of students and whatnot. And now, sadly, I lost my gym after all these years. I've been teaching for almost, like 22, 23 years. And we had a tragic incident in July. And my best friend at the gym, Kevin, everybody knew him. He got killed in a plane crash in Phillips, Wisconsin. And chain of events, the gym is now gone. So, I don't know if we're trying to put some stuff together with seminars and coming down the line, and hopefully we can get a crop of new guys, younger guys or, people that would be interested in learning this and seeing how this goes.
So when did you first start taking on students? Were you looking for, did you get a space first and then try and advertise a little bit? Or
Great question. Yeah. I off and on trained guys even back in Cleveland that want to learn how to defend themselves, but I get your point. Okay, so I had this aneurysm June 1st, 1993. Technically, it was a subarachnoid hemorrhage, I guess. Anyhow, come March of 1994, March 13th of 1994, I was at a restaurant in Elmhurst. I was all crippled up. I couldn't walk, and everything was messed up. And I was young, and some people, these people didn't know me, and they asked me what happened. And I said, hey, I can't work out. many health clubs won't allow me in, and the one that did, nobody's helping me with the weights and handing it to me, and all of that stuff. I just, I am thinking about, this is not a good life for me. All right, I need to change my life around. Well, you need to stay here because there's this guy that lifts weights, and he'll be in here today. I said, are you sure about that? Are you sure? Yeah, he'll be in here. And that was my friend, turned out to be my friend Kevin. I'd never met him before. He was like 48 years old, I think, at the time. And we started talking, and he's like, hey, I got a tool and die shop, and I got a bench press and a couple other things, dumbbells. You come over there, and I'll help you lift. I said, well, Kevin, I got all the knowledge. I just need, a training partner. I need somebody to hand me the weights and shit. Very next day, I showed up, and that's how it started. And Kevin's like, show me a couple things, and I was kind of crippled. I couldn't do much, but I started to get better, and all of a sudden more people heard about me and just wanted to start coming to this place. So I had no intentions of doing this. I swear to God, I didn't, guys. It just happened like that. So we were at the tool and die shop in Stone Park for many years, and then for a while I was teaching out at Triton College, and then the place in Bensonville that just finally, that I'm gone from. So yeah, that's how I ended up doing it here in Chicago, Chicagoland. And it worked out good, but it was rough back then. But we didn't even really have mats. We were rolling on concrete.
Well, I mean, by the time I got there, we did have mats, but we were still essentially
rolling on concrete.
Oh, yeah.
No. We were still essentially working out on like wrestling mat rolled out on a concrete floor with a tarp down. But it's a tool and die shop. Like you guys understand. Like I would go home and pick metal shavings out of my fucking hair.
Right.
Yeah.
No heat, no air.
Yeah, no heat, no air. I mean, sometimes it was still pretty warm in there because of
It brought
stuff
ripping
going
to a
on.
whole new level, huh?
Yeah, Jesus, man. Yeah, like my introduction class was mostly mostly squats and push-ups.
I remember you telling me that.
Oh yeah,
Tony made you do 500 squats or
no,
something?
he told me to. I didn't actually make it to that number at all.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So was that your way of just weeding out pussies?
Well, every so often one sneaks by me right out here. No, but yes and no, because a lot of it is pushing you in a safe way to limits that you don't think you can make. Okay, right. I mean, when I tell somebody you're going to do 1,000 squats by the end of next week or whatever. Yeah, right. That's not possible. Well, it is. It is possible because it's more or less an endurance thing. I couldn't make you squat 1,000 pounds in 2 weeks or whatever. That's not humanly possible. But yeah, it's taking you to where you haven't been, getting you into that uncomfortable zone. Okay, where it's like, I don't like this. All right. And part of the training, especially if you want to learn how to do something for real, like real life. What's the biggest, let me ask Javier if he remembers this. What is the biggest thing that normally is lacking in a training session compared to the real world?
Pressure.
Right, adrenaline, pressure, because you're safe. Yeah. You guys know each other. You know each other's habits. You know if you get in trouble, I'll just tap out. He's not going to hurt me. That's not going to happen in the streets. So you want to try to create this adrenaline. I want these guys to think, well, what's happening next? Where's he going with this? And boy, it's a whole different world when you feel that adrenaline or that adrenaline dump afterwards, right? Yeah. And the byproduct was these guys got into phenomenal condition. They were able to do stuff that pro fighters coming through the gym couldn't do. Okay, they were gassing out. So while, especially in the beginning when they were maybe not very good with submissions or whatnot, at least the one thing I knew was they're never going to run out of gas. And many times we'd have a pro fighter coming in. That pro fighter's running out of gas. He's running out of steam. Now, these guys in the beginning weren't tapping them out, but they weren't getting tapped out either. So now these pros are like, Jesus, man, I can blow through all these guys at my gym. What's going on over here?
Not to be fair, like this is still early days MMA, so like certainly training protocols weren't as tight as they are now. This is a different era, but yeah, for sure that happened and happened multiple times.
Yeah, and but it's all about just being the best you can be, inside and outside, mentally, psychologically, and physically. That's just how I always felt. Like when I was crippled up, I said, "Hey, I'm not going to be like this." Okay, I had a friend. and she wanted to buy me, I forgot what it was called now, one of these race wheelchairs. Okay, so I could go fast and
be competitive.
Yeah, I said no. You're not going to buy me that because I don't want to be. I'm not going to be in this thing. Okay, I'm getting out of this wheelchair. You're not going to keep me in this damn chair. It's not going to happen. It took longer than I thought. Like I said, it took me probably a year and a half or so. I mean, I don't have it marked down on a calendar, but. And so, I don't want to be like that again. Now, unfortunately, I do have injuries that limit me, but if I can do it, you guys can do it. I came back I couldn't bench the bar. Okay. I could not bench the bar at all. And ultimately, I worked up the bench at 480 pounds drug free, wow. And set a world record in the strict curl and shit. He was there at Triton. Yeah. So if I can come from zero to that, okay, you can do it too. Okay. The only thing, I am not better than anybody at any of these things. I just had determination, like you with your pool, for example. You were determined to be good. By the time you were 17, you were slicking out all these old timers and shit. Okay. Right. Because you loved the game. You had access. You had good coaching from your family. If I can do it, you guys can do it, And even when I was a kid, I was fast. I was always like the fastest kid, sprinter, right?
This is actually super annoying to me because I'm not fast. And we would have guys come to the gym that oh yeah, no, I'm a really fast runner and everything. And I train for marathons. I train for 100-yard dash. And he'd take them out and just smoke them all. I'm like, he doesn't train for shit. Well, he's lifting weights and whatnot.
But it was like what's the word I'm looking for? It was like an illusion. All right, growing up, everybody thought, man, you're a great athlete. No, man, I'm just fast because I lived in a bad neighborhood, so I had to learn how to run fast. But really, I was just fast. My hands were fast. I could run fast, but I don't believe that I'm anything special. I don't think that I've had any gifts. Okay. Let me hark back to Jerry Sigler, my accordion teacher. He said this once. He used to get mad. He's like, I hate when people say that I had a God-given talent. He said, I used to practice 6 hours a day. That's where my talent came from, right? Hard work. And everything I have was because of hard work. So if I can do it, everybody can do it, that puts their mind to it. And even if you have a handicap, some sort of injury, hey, you can learn to work around it, so that's kind of what I wanted with these guys. I wanted them to see, hey, Tony's still trying, and I had no reason to do this. That's the whole point. I wasn't trying to be the UFC champ or some shit. Right. I just did it because I wasn't going to be in a chair anymore. I wasn't going to be in a wheelchair or worse. If I'm going to go, let me just go. I don't want to live like that, especially when I was 29 years old when it happened. Right. Well, let's call it. Yeah, I was about to turn 29 because my birthday was 2 weeks later. I had my birthday. I was in a hospital for 3 months, so at 2 different hospitals. So that sucked. And then I had a relapse in 2002, and I was real bad because I got multiple concussions. So shit happens, but you got to keep moving forward. But
so Tony, you're the tool and die shop. Was that all word of mouth? Like the guys coming in there?
I'll chime in on this. So some portion word of mouth. We had a couple of guys that would come through, and then they'd be like, "This place is amazing. You guys have to come and check it out." And inevitably, one or two guys would roll in, check it out, be like, this place is crazy, actually. Goodbye. But the way I found out about Tony is way back when, the Underground Forum, Tony and Bruce were the moderators. This is 1999, were the moderators of the Wrestling Forum. And so, I was hanging out there learning all about this new NHB thing, in the late 90s. And
NHB, no holds barred.
Yeah, we didn't call it MMA for a long time until after that, So it was NHB back then, or UFC, bro. So I found out in the most cockamamie way that he had a gym in Stone Park, and I had no idea that when guys were calling it the Tool and Die Shop, that it was actually a a functioning tool. I thought like I'd show up and it was a former tool and
They're
die
gonna
shop.
mold you into a weapon or something, right?
No, nothing that
it's
cool.
an actual tool and die
yeah,
shop.
I just thought like you know how we called 10th Planet the cabinet shop for a while there, because I don't know if you get. Yeah, when we moved into the new location, the sign was up still from when it used to be a cabinet shop.
Right.
So like for a while we were calling it that. That was what I was mentally expecting. Like, oh, it's a former tool and die shop, but now it's a wrestling gym. Like, no, there's tool and die machinery running right over there during the wrestling lesson. You know,
so gangster.
Whole place smells of oil and like.
Well, what Javier did nowadays, they call it stalking. 'Cause that's what he did. He found out where I lived. He drives past my house. I mean, the guy's,
Okay.
Yeah, no, he still does that to this day.
Hey. We agreed not to discuss that on air for legal reasons. I think I told this before,
You did,
but just to refresh. So this guy has no idea how the internet works back then. Okay, so I find out about Tony. I look into it and I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. Like, this is an obscure martial art that I have no experience with. I'd love to, fly out to wherever he lives and learn something about this. And then I find out, like, I'm living in Bloomingdale at the time. He lives in Addison. That's the next town over. Or sorry, not lives in, like, his gym is in Addison. This is my thought process, because he's got this GeoCities page that some other dude, might I add, put up there for him. And on there, it's got his address listed. And I had no idea it was his apartment address.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, this is a website. This is clearly his business. I'm gonna go check out this guy's gym.
Right.
I'm super excited. I'm like, oh, he's right down the street. This is amazing. And I'm riding around like in Addison, and I'm like, there's no businesses back here. Maybe it's in a park district or something. Like, no. Sure enough, find the address. It's his fucking house. I'm like, the balls on this guy to put his address on the internet.
Right? He must be a total badass.
Yeah, hey, I'm Italian. I didn't say I was smart, but hey, but no, and that's how it was. And then word of mouth, I guess. So word of mouth, I think, and and then people just started flocking in from all over. The world. I had people coming in, and that's just how it took off. And then ups and downs, comes and goes, but
did you want it to be a big success?
I did.
Did you?
I was hoping, but there's people on the internet that like to I don't want to get into this, but they like to lie about you and make up shit because they're jealous, or this happens to everybody. Yeah. Okay. And so that took hold for a long time, and did a lot of damage and shit. And then when that happens, you kind of lose interest, because you got to understand, when these guys would come to my house or come to Chicago to train, I'd put them up at my house. Okay, these guys weren't spending money on a hotel room. Right. They're staying. I'm bringing you in, strangers, into my house. I care about people, and I figured the best way to get to know me is like maybe doing what we're doing now. Just let's sit around my house and shoot the shit. Right. And then the creative juices start to flow a little bit. So I wasn't even charging these guys money back then. It was just like, come on, I'll help you guys out. But then all of a sudden, man, people started coming for one or two lessons, and then now they're going back to where they live, and they're charging $100 an hour to get a lesson. You can't do it. You don't even know what you're doing.
Right.
And then, of course, they trash me.
I can't stress enough. Like, I've told people this countless times, and like, I get the impression that people just don't believe me. Like, I tried to pay him money, and he wouldn't let me. Like early on, very early on, before I was really a student per se. Yeah, he took a couple of checks from me, and I still remember. You called me up to the front room of the tool and die shop, up in the office, and you got the check in your hand, and you're like, take this back. And I'm like, oh, God, I'm getting kicked out of the gym. But in reality, it was, listen, the speech was basically like, listen, I see that you're committed to this.
You made the cut.
Yeah, basically. Keep showing up, keep training hard. You don't have to pay me a dime. And wow. I can't think of many guys that are going to do that for somebody.
Now, of course, several years go by, times change. Now I'm in a different place. I got to pay rents everywhere, and things in my life just changed. But it bothers me because I think I have a lot to offer the right people, and I wish it would happen. But now with the piracy, the downloads, they can market the videos and and steal it from you, and so they've pretty much wiped out that income strain, and that's sad. So it's the worst thing is now, I'm 53 years old and I'm a guy with no experience, and I can't find like a regular job, like a 9-to-5 job, and sometimes I get down and I say, I made a mistake. 20 years ago when I got better from that aneurysm, I should have just entered the workforce, found a good paying job, and moved on. I could have had a pension by now. But then I start thinking, I met guys like Javier, and you two guys seem like awesome guys, and I met people from all over. Nobody else can do that or say that I know in my life.
Yeah, no, it was a different life.
Yeah, so I hope everybody sends me pizzas and lasagna because I can use the food.
we got the pizzas over here.
But I'm not hungry now.
Well, you could definitely take that pizza home. That's actually from Elmhurst. There's a place called Pazzi di Pizza. One of my clients. Yeah,
Cool.
It's a unique pizza. It's called the Mario Special because what he does is it's interesting. I don't know how interesting, but I thought it was interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
He puts the sauce on top as opposed to initially he puts the dough down and then he put the sauce, then he put the cheese.
Right.
Reverse. So he puts the dough, cheese, sauce, a little bit of sprinkled sauce on top, and then throws the throws the toppings like the sausage or whatever.
For the
on
listeners
top.
at home, Zito is talking with his hands
Of
right
course.
now. Yeah.
Being very Italian at the moment.
But it's very delicious. Please take it.
And he's only speaking so me and Javier understand. Tony knows what he's doing with sign language, Italian sign language
Totally
over
completely
here.
understands. We're already there. Yeah.
You talking to me? Come on. I love pizza, special kinds.
Yeah.
But yeah. But again, with this UFC and the MMA or whatever they call it, it's a great sport. It's developing. When it first started, it was there was a lot of guys who some were good, some weren't good, and I'm sure you still have that now. But let's just see where that goes.
What do you think about like now they're starting to do like combat jiu-jitsu? That's another thing.
He has no knowledge, no frame of reference of that. You can feel free to explain the concept, but yeah, he's got no frame of reference.
So basically, jiu-jitsu with open hand striking to open the opponent up to get the submission.
Only on the ground.
Only on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no stand up fighting.
It's progress.
Right.
Hey, it's better.
So
than-
it's almost just like ripping.
Yeah.
Like I want you to give me something better. Like your
Yeah.
arm,
So I'm
you
going
know.
to smack you in the head until you give up your arm to stop. To take. To push me.
Get
off
a
or
reaction.
whatever.
Get a
reaction.
realistic street reaction, I guess.
Right.
Well, it's like I say, anything that's more realistic for me is a good thing.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. I mean, for me, and again, I'm older than you guys, although I don't look it. Hey, I'm Italian. I was raised with the street fight only. Like I said earlier, there was no sport for me. There was no aspirations to be the combat champion like he is or whatever. There was nothing. There was nothing on the horizon. All I wanted to do was make it home and live. Right. So for me, it has to be real for me. Now, I'm not dissing the sportsmen out there because, like I told you, there's some great guys. But I like the realism.
So do I. I'm with you there. I mean, I love sport jiu-jitsu, submission, grappling, all that. I mean, I watch it religiously. Those guys are brilliant and amazing, but it's always just a little bit sexier when you know that that works in the street, that works in the cage.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just not like that. I think another thing with a lot of these, I'm not going to, again, mention any names, but I just ran into somebody 2 weeks ago that used to train with me. I don't know if I told you this, but I'll tell you later. Shocked me. Are you Tony? What are you doing out here, man? So he showed me a video of his brother, doing a match against some guy. And the guy didn't do shit. I mean, it was a joke. I mean, the guy got taken down, and that was it. He immediately went to his belly and just gave the guy the choke, And I'm like, there's a lot of that going around because everybody wants to promote these tournaments and, these fights. And sometimes there's more tournaments than there are quality fighters in it, You get my drift?
Yep.
And that's not a broad brush. I mean, there's some great fighters out there, but there's also a lot of tomato cans, and I can't watch that shit. I don't want to see that.
I could tell. Javier, if you ever want to make Tony vomit, show him some no-gi submission only matches where the guy literally lays down on his back and like faces the opponent, not even faces the opponent, just like away from him. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Just lays flat.
It just lays flat and puts his arms out like, come take whatever position you want on me, because that's how confident I am.
Right. No, I know the guys you're talking about.
I understand that's pretty cool that you're that good that you could actually do that, but that's getting so far away from fighting, isn't it?
So, like, you're going to run into this no matter what. Like anytime you have any rule set, like, it doesn't matter what it is. Somebody's going to try and figure out a way to game the system, and is going to try to figure out some way to do something that other people haven't seen before that's going to work within that system. So, yeah, I mean, like...
But apparently not worried about looking retarded in the meantime.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you be? I mean, it's submission only. There's no consequences of having someone on top of you, because there's no pinning, there's no top position points, there's no striking. So, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely going to see stuff like that. You know, Eddie Cummings had that match with the guy whose name nobody can remember, where the guy, like, did the belly down, threw his arms out in front of him, and like, you know,
kept his legs
as far away from Eddie. Eddie's, you know, of course, a fantastic leg locker. And if I remember correctly, in an interview afterwards, somebody asked him about that match, and what was going through his mind right then and there was, if I don't submit this guy, I've ruined grappling, because if he can make that bullshit work against me, you know, like, that's it. It's over. I fucked up.
I'm so glad he said that.
So thankfully he choked the shit out of that guy.
He did choke him. Yeah. I don't remember his name either. But I do remember the match.
That is why no one will remember your name.
Well, my thing was always not beating you per se, or him or whoever. It's beating the clock. I just wanted to get this over with as quick as possible. He'll tell you, I mean, seconds. 15, 20, 30 seconds. It was rare that somebody would blow out after a minute, you know.
Yeah, it was pretty horrifying, actually.
That fast mentality, that strikes a memory in mind, because when I was taking, in the early 90s, I took Jeet Kune Do, and they would teach us something called, like, the killer instinct, right? And how my instructors would put it to us is like, listen, you've got a guy in front of you. You got to get through this guy as fast as possible to get to the other 5 guys who are raping your mother.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how they would explain stuff to us. Back, and this is like early 90s.
Intense.
It's pretty intense.
That one caught me off guard, I'll be really honest.
But that's the intensity that they want us to train at. Right. So when we would have to do whatever we were training, I got to get through this guy, because we'd put the helmets on, we'd go in the back alley, and we would fight. You know?
Right.
And that's like, you got to turn that switch on and go. And yeah, man.
Yeah,
and
I'm cool with that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I was like 15, 16 years old at that time. Well,
but that's how it is in life. You know, in the real world, man. You know, shit happens so quickly, and then when you're under stress, you know, real stress, you know, believe it or not, things tend to slow down a little bit. You know, it's like, it seems like it's going in slow motion. Nothing hurts as much as you think it is, but you won't know that until it actually happens to you. So, you know, but with me, it was always boom, boom, boom. I saw a video years ago at it was of a seminar, and it was a famous guy against just one of the students, you know, and it took almost 10 minutes for the famous guy, to get the student, you know, and submit. Then, of course, everybody's clapping and shit. I'd have had to quit. I would have had to give it up. I mean, you know, unless I'm sick or injured, I mean, 10 minutes? I don't think so. You know, I mean, imagine Mike Tyson in his prime taking 10 minutes to take a slug out. I mean, it wasn't going to happen, you know?
Right.
And so I'm a bad critic. You know, I'm my own worst critic. You know, I want to make sure that, you know, I'm always doing things the best I can. And when the day comes that I can't, then I walk away from it, you know, like a baseball player, you know, that just retires because he can't cut the muster anymore. But yeah, speed. Let's get this over with fast. And it helps your critical thinking too. And it's difficult, but you know, because you're seeing all this stuff coming, openings and closings on your body, you know. but it makes you see things quickly. And, all of a sudden, good things happen. Javier's only biggest negative was his size. Okay, he was always the smallest guy in the gym.
Still am usually.
Right. I even took him to a kindergarten class.
We call
and
it
he was
fun
still
size.
yeah, right. But no, if he was my size, jeez, I wouldn't have gotten on a mat with him. Shit, the guy's freaky. He's really good. But, I always emphasize, let's think quicker. You could have done this a little better or something. But he's probably the most dedicated. Costa was great. Brian Deneve, I had a lot of great guys.
I mean, I feel like I was, I was fortunate that I was flexible. Like that, that was the only attribute that I had that maybe other guys in the gym didn't have. But like you had guys like Martin was just had that incredible endurance, great work ethic. He was built like super lanky, so he had those fantastic head scissors. Brian was an incredible athlete, very explosive, had fantastic training and conditioning, again, great work ethic. Costa wrestled so much like you. And then like there's me. I'm like
the negative about Costa was he had a bad back, like when mine would go out. So Costa, who was sensational, was the best 30-second wrestler because he would run out of gas. He just was he could never get into the greatest condition. But he very knowledgeable, very kind. He never would hurt anybody. Great, like I say, like he said, great work ethic. But everybody brings something to the table. Everybody's a little bit different. There's no one size fits all. There just isn't. Look at Bruce. Bruce Lee couldn't with his legs the way he was. He wasn't going to do head scissors and things like that. Whereas Martin could.
That might confuse people.
I'm sure someone else named Bruce Lee.
Yeah. So I heard of that guy.
Not that Bruce Lee.
No, not that Bruce Lee.
He's on the wall here somewhere, isn't he?
He was.
Tony, what was your relationship like with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, if you at all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I trained many of them.
You had visitors come through.
Oh, sure.
Nice.
Or they would bring me out for seminars, and I would go to their schools, and I always got along with them.
That's great.
I did, and so I can say that I have a hell of a lot of experience with BJJ guys in the past, so I know a lot about it, and I had a lot of respect for it. I didn't do the gi stuff, okay, but that's not what they wanted me for. They wanted me to show them what I knew and a different approach to things. Right. We never really got too much into the ripping or anything or the strikes. They weren't into that, but they just wanted to see how to ride, how to control, because I'm all about controlling a guy and, the leg locks and, just various things that maybe that particular school may have felt a little weak in, But yeah, like I said, I've trained more Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys than I did any other style of martial arts, right?
I mean, truthfully,
for real,
more guys rolled through that had a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu base than probably anything else.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when Luthez was alive, he always thought, we're going to get the wrestlers to come back to you. We're going to get the wrestlers. And I think that would have happened. And certainly the smear campaign against me never would have taken hold if Lou wouldn't have passed away, when he did. But yeah, it just seemed that it was more of the jiu-jitsu guys. I never really got a lot of the wrestlers to come in, unless I'm forgetting something, right?
I mean, we had a few guys. Yeah, we had guys that had a wrestling base.
So now are you still actively doing seminars and you're still promoting yourself to do seminars?
Well, I'm trying
to get back on it?
We're trying. Yeah. We're just trying to do like a local seminar, maybe once a month. I would love to be able to get back to doing this so I can make a living again at it, but that's out of my hands. I can't force people to come into the well, I don't even have a gym, but to come into the gym if I had one.
Well, I see that on your shirt there. You've got a website and stuff like that.
catchwrestle.com. Yeah.
So what's on that site right now?
All my DVDs and digital downloads, training opportunities like for certification and so on. And if we do a seminar, I would post it on there too and update it.
And people can book seminars through that website.
They could book seminars. They could buy videos.
Can we buy that shirt?
Not this one.
Why not?
Oh no, I want that shirt.
I want that shirt. I do want that.
This is an exclusive, boys.
Yeah, I don't have any of those. I got one. He gave it to me as a gift. That's a nice shirt.
That is really nice.
Yeah, he did it.
Did you? How did you put that together?
I mean, obviously, I didn't do the art or anything. But I took the logos, planned it out. Yeah, this is years ago.
Really?
That's why it's not available because it's It's
I got
a
other
few
ones,
years old.
but I should have brought them, and I forgot. Matter of fact, my friend Joe said, "Bring shirts for those guys." It's similar to that, but the shirts are black.
Okay.
And of course, I forgot. I left my house, but I can send them. I can
want
give them
that.
to Javier. And,
Yeah, give them the Javier.
yeah.
I'll make sure the hookup happens.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
What-
not these.
what-
Not these.
Not those, but I'll take any of those with that
What
logo. That
size?
logo's, I'm a small. Paul's a
Well,
medium.
you're going to have to get a medium, I think.
Yeah. I don't think I even got a small of the,
Right,
of
yeah.
the new ones. Yeah.
But no, yeah. So if anybody would like to buy a DVD or downloads or seminars, whatever, just check out catchwrestle.com. Thanks for letting me say that. Yeah, I've had that website for many years,
Many years.
from the 90s.
And I will say, like currently, we try to do a monthly workshop. Right now, we're hosting them all at 10th Planet Chicago. Typically, they're on Sundays. We try to schedule them around like major tournaments and whatnot. Sorry, like so that there's not a major tournament. You know, not scheduling around when there is. So yeah, and turn out for those. We've got a pretty dedicated group of guys that usually show up. You know, so but it's not a giant thing. You know, like we're trying to get it more promoted. You know, expose a new generation to it. Maybe bring back some old faces. There's been a few guys that have kind of fallen out of things that have been talking about coming in for a visit, time in and around that. So we're hoping that all happens. But yeah, right now that's what we've been doing the last couple of months now.
So what do your seminars include? Like, how is the format and how's it going out?
Yeah, we were doing every week or every month was a different subject. Okay, like the very first one was an introduction to catch wrestling, to Tony Cecchini's Catch Wrestling, America Catch Wrestling, and then one week the next month might have been an armbar seminar, and then a leg lock and neck crank. So we tried to, and then I had 1 month where it was just let's review. Okay, because it's always the same guys. So let's see if you're retaining this. And of course, they don't really retain it that much because they don't have a chance to practice a lot of this. Okay, if they're coming once a month, that's not a lot of
Right.
They got to be there more often, I guess.
Right, and it's on them to like when you don't have Tony there coaching you, it's on them to implement it in their own practice.
Right.
So could show them like the greatest move ever. If you don't remember to drill it when you're practicing, you're gonna fade right away.
Sure.
Yeah, and and they all go to different schools, so it would be like me coming to your house and just walking into your living room and changing the channel on the TV. I can't do that. When you're at an instructor's school, you've got to do what that instructor tells you to do. I understand that. So for a lot of these guys, they have the desire, but they don't have the facility to be able to practice like they could. And it's a shame because I held the first 2 or 3 of these seminars at my gym, okay? And as of July, I'm no longer there, unfortunately. So, and I kind of feel, well, it's hard for me to promote something when I don't even have a place to do it. But we've been lucky that they've been allowing us to use 10th Planet. Great guys. But that's probably like the biggest thing that I'm not good at in the 20-some years I've been on the internet. I don't know how to market worth a shit. Okay, I don't like talking about myself. I can't do it. I don't feel comfortable doing it. So I can't market myself. I think if I had somebody that really knew marketing and all of that, I took a course. One of my students is a big shot, and I went out to Virginia to try to learn all this guerrilla or hyper marketing, whatever you call it. Mm-hmm. It didn't work. I just can't do it. Right. I'm not good at ad copy. I don't know how to promote. So I think I probably did myself a big disservice if I could have.
Well, Javier's a pretty decent mouthpiece.
Yeah.
I've been
especially
known
on
to do a
social
little
media.
social media. No, Tony and I have discussed it that moving forward, I'm gonna be a lot more involved in the day-to-day social media.
Yeah, I can't. I can't do it. I don't. It's not. I can't. It's not.
And that's a lot of instructors. Almost all of them have a guy that handles that
Yeah,
shit.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their job is to instruct.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'd like to do. Just be able to get focused back on teaching, and but without that income, money coming in, it's difficult. Now you got other pressures. You know how it is. You guys are in business, So yeah, if this could change, and maybe if people could start buying the DVDs or the digital downloads again. But I don't know if you guys ever heard of Paladin Press. They were a huge company. They've been around for like 50 years. They sell books and DVDs on all subjects, from military weaponry to self-defense to jiu-jitsu, you name it. So I did a big series with them in 2008, and I got a letter from them 2-3 months ago saying, "Hey, we're done. we're going out of business, and as of January 1st, they're gone. I'll get the rights back to my Snap No Tap series. But yeah, it's hard with this video stuff now because, like I said, of the piracy and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, what about creating because now there's a lot of companies coming out there doing the online pay $4.99 per month, and you sign up and then you can grab all the videos you want. You become like a member.
They get access to your archive.
I tried to do that. I tried to set up a membership page, and it just. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, software-wise, I think it's all legit. It's all working. But again, if I could get Javier or somebody to set it up better, price it right and do shit,
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
I'm just dumb with that stuff.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
It's just out of my. I mean, I love electronics. Like I can build computers and do stuff like that, but I don't know the software and I don't know the internet's. How to surf well and shit like that. So.
I'm being really honest. Like, he didn't even know computers when I met him. So, like, it was pretty shocking the first time I ever walked into his living room, and he had, like, soldering irons and shit out. And I'm like, what the hell are you building? And it was a video game controller. But I'm like...
For Pac-Man.
Yeah. I'm like, you went from not knowing how to use email to building a USB interfaced video game controller from parts you ordered online in like a year and a half, and you can't handle this social media thing.
I can't do it.
And it's okay.
And then I get like YouTube. Like I'll watch videos of music, or whatever, or pool, right?
Yeah.
And I can't deal with these comments. I'm like, oh my god, they're
nobody reads the comments, Tony. Nobody reads the comments. You can't read the comments.
I can't. I'll end with a stroke, a heart attack.
Don't do it.
No, I can't. I won't do it. So that's another reason. I quit going to forums. Maybe 15, 16 years ago, I just said, that's it.
Yeah,
I can't do it, man.
Gotta stay away from that.
They talk shit all the time. I mean, it's just like...
Anyone who leaves comments on a YouTube video is a douchebag. You just can't listen to it.
I can't.
I don't want to say anyone, but yeah, the signal
99.9999%. Okay, Javi. Not everybody, but all of them, pretty much.
Bad. Yeah,
but you guys here, this facility is, man, tits and ass, man. It's really nice. I love it. It is awesome here. And I walk in, there's a pool table.
Right.
I don't want to do the interview. I want to shoot pool. I love this joint, man. This is really great. And you got that gym right behind you and everything.
Right.
It's like,
welcome to TNA Studios.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Tits and ass, baby.
Damn straight, man. Doggone show. But yeah, this is great, man. You guys are awesome, too.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Well, we appreciate having you on. I mean, Tavi's been talking about it since episode 2, right? So, and we're like, okay,
long since before then. If we all the times I bring him up at the gym. So.
Yeah, and it's great. It's great to finally meet the legend.
Nice to meet the legend that turned this man into a serial killing monster.
In the middle of death.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
I try.
And Javi, who just recently got his brown belt.
Congrats,
Congratulations in person.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Congratulations. Yes.
Appreciate that.
I'll be seeing you at Worlds.
Yes, that
Hopefully.
is the plan. Nogi Worlds.
Talk a little bit. Explain.
Oh, so Nogi Worlds. So Javi and I are both signed up to compete at Nogi Worlds, which is in December 16th and 17th.
In Anaheim.
Anaheim, California.
Oh.
Yep. That's the plan. So it's Nogi, a little bit more to my likings. Hopefully,
Because now at brown belt he can do
knee bars,
toe holds,
calf slicers,
all the fun stuff he loves to do.
A bunch of stuff that previously was denied.
Yeah,
me.
Yes.
I think you're actually going to be more dangerous at brown.
We'll see. You never know who's going to be in your bracket.
Yeah.
So,
I feel sorry for those guys. I know who they are. I feel sorry for them.
I feel pretty happy with with my expanded options. So,
no, it's fantastic. I mean, I saw you when we did Master Worlds together, and I saw you destroy everyone you went against, and it was impressive. Like to see him at that level, like you never did a world competition before, right?
No, that was my first IBJJF, my first world championship level.
Right.
And I got myself disqualified in the end.
You got disqualified. However, he destroyed. It was like master. It was beautiful to watch because you see I've seen a lot of gi matches and and I see how it goes with guys in our gym and other gyms. Yeah. But then when you see Javi's
a finisher, man.
He's
really
not
win
fucking
on
around.
points.
No,
I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
He's not, and I'm just looking. I'm like, oh my god, he just.
That comes from you, Tony.
Yeah,
the only strategy
difference.
is finish him fast.
Finish him fast.
That's always the plan. I think I think in the last 2 years, I don't know how many competitions I've done off the top of my head, but I think out of all the competitions I've done, I've lost once on points in one match. I lost once on points, and I won once on points. I was really upset about that one, might I add. Like I was trying to finish that guy, but yeah, time ran out, and he was a gamer. And then every other match, I've either gotten submitted because I was going all out trying to finish the guy, or I finished him.
Right.
Every single other match.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, you're a stud. You know, I'm proud of you. You know,
Thank you.
Inside and out of the ring, man. You know, he's quality people, and you guys seem quality people too. And that to me is number one, because one of these days, this skill's going to erode. Okay, and all you're going to be left with is the man that's inside of you. You know, so that's something we can always continue to work on and shit. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I should do some karaoke.
Right now?
You got some Sinatra?
You want to sing us out, Tony?
I wouldn't mind that. Go ahead. Sing us out, man. They can do
The
it.
summer wind came blowing in from across the sea. All right, enough.
It's been a while.
There'll be YouTube comments. Who the hell is that guy? Did he swallow a frog?
They got the comments disabled. We're fine.
Fantastic. Well, where can people find you, Tone?
CatchWrestle.com.
Awesome. And no social media, no Instagram yet?
He has an Instagram that he never uses.
I got a Facebook, but
He's got a
I don't know how to
Facebook.
do that. You're going to take over that shit because I don't know how to do it.
Sure. So Tony Cecchini's American Catch Wrestling is the Facebook page. Tony does post videos on there periodically, you know, addressing the adoring
Just like
fans.
this stuff, talking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like, you know, like endless quantities of technique video or anything like that. But yeah, like that's typically where we'll announce, you know, upcoming things.
Instagram is?
Instagram is, I honestly have to look it up to double check.
Well, we'll hit it up. We'll
Yeah,
put it up
because
on,
I don't use
on
it.
our Instagram then.
Right.
Okay.
But I'm gonna change that. We're gonna get him active on there. Maybe post some video clips up, some cool stuff.
Well, I want to thank you guys for giving me the chance to come out here, you know, and to beat my buddy Scott's butt at the pool table, like I always do.
Did you win?
Of course I did.
Of course.
You got a rematch here? Are we gonna
should
deal
play
Zito
Scott.
in?
I'd like to see him shoot a game with Scott. You know?
Okay, I'll shoot a game.
Yeah,
Let's
good
go
enough.
play some
man.
pool.
But
Yeah.
man, thanks. No, really, guys, and let's keep in touch even offline, you know, because you guys are cool. I just live kind of a distance, but I like to come one day and watch you guys work out. You know,
Sure.
That'd be great. You know,
Yeah.
let me know. Set it up.
No, we'll
maybe
make
after
it
the
happen.
Worlds, you know, or something. You know.
Yeah.
It'd be great. Awesome.
You did
Thanks,
all right,
guys.
Tony.
All right. Thank you, man.
We'll see ya.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. For more information about Grappler Union Podcast, you could visit us at our website at grapplerunion.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Grappler Union. Please like us on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. And all of our episodes are available on our YouTube channel. Say what?
Be sure to subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe to all that shit. You got to do another take, right?
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Biotropic Labs. Biotropic Labs is a company that makes its own natural and healthy custom formulated sports supplements. I tried them out. Paul has also tried them. We both like how we feel on them. It dramatically and positively improved our performance, allowing us to train and work out at a much higher level and with much more endurance. His products are built around a blood support and oxygen delivery. To learn more about their products, please visit them on the web at biotropiclabs.com. At checkout, use the promo code UNION10 to receive 10% off your order. Your order is also backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, zero-risk purchase. Again, that's biotropiclabs.com. Use the promo code UNION10 at checkout to receive 10% off your entire order.
This episode of the Grappler Union Podcast is brought to you by BJJTees. Go to bjjtees.com, enter the promo code Grappler Union, and save 10% off all your jiu-jitsu apparel. Go to bjjtees.com today.
This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Strychnine Jiu-Jitsu, makers of vintage-inspired tees, hoodies, and rash guards. Go to strychnine.co, that's STRYCH9.co, and use the promo code UNION at checkout to receive 20% off your online order.